VSS Book Club held a gathering on Women's Day to have a conversation with women and discuss how each one's scar played a role in moulding their characters. Women from all walks of life engaged and shared their experiences on how they got their wounds and overcame the emotional, physical, mental and psychological experience it came with. Now, some of these women included Kimberly Molala Ambassdor from the National Burn Association. Now, she joins us this morning to share more on the gathering alongside a representative from VSS Book Club, Phiwe Mncwabe. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us on Morning Live.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Now, mainly just to start with you, Kimberly, and let's talk about the event. I like the fact that you were looking at different types of scars and what it's meant, because everybody has experienced something and they have a different story to tell. Why was it important to have it in that way?
From my side, hi to all the viewers. It was important in that we face different types of scars in our lives, and some of them we hide them as individuals. And sessions like your VSS Book Club, I felt like it was a safe space where we can share all these different scars, because we don't talk about them, we hide them, and as a result you find that people tap into things like your depression and they have thoughts of committing suicide and so forth. So as the youth, I think we should have sessions like this nationally to share such issues and talk about them.
I'm actually glad that, Kimberly, you touched on the rationale that the sense of it is to have a safe space, meaning that not everywhere is essentially a safe space, which is essentially the problem. People are so judgmental, people break each other down, and we see it and we experience it every day. Phiwe, in terms of that rationale, as VSS Book Club, because you are a book club, is that an integral part of what you're trying to promote in terms of the empowerment of women, in terms of the empowerment of the youth?
Yes, Tabili, of course. We are trying to promote that because we don't want to, we know that reading is very good, and at the same time we want to start talking about conversations that bother us as women. So it's a very important part to empower women through reading, as well as just bring up these matters that we battle to talk about in public, like scars. That's why we say it, like scars not scarred.
Let's talk about practical solutions. A lot of the time people will say dialogues and colloquiums and coming together are essentially just talk shops. You have the conversation and you leave and you go home and you face your normal life and you almost forget about the conversations. What are the practical solutions in dealing with things like, you know, self-esteem that comes from, low self-esteem that comes from different types of things, because we all go through different experiences that lead to us feeling a particular way. Practical solutions to the judgment that we have towards each other, and this thing of people breaking each other down and women being so difficult to other women because it is Women's Month. And I think honest conversations aren't being held about how other women treat other women as well.
Okay, from my experiences from after all this whole thing happened, I mean, it was very difficult. Luckily, I had a very supportive family, you know, that supporting structure, and it enabled me to carry on with life. But then again, there is society out there where you get out there, you get exposed, and it's a different world completely. So dealing with that, it's a challenge, you know. But I had to, for the fact that for me, with what happened, I think it dawned on me that, you know what, your soul is still intact. And for that, you have a reason to live. And I think that motivated me to go out there, together with the supporting structure that I received from my family. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of that. And just accepting myself and embracing life each and every day.
And that's an amazing sentiment. Phiwe, just to come to you and in closing, with a way forward essentially, because the conversation has been started, and I like that you go out there and you speak and you say, you know what, you are who you are regardless of what's happened to you. What's the way forward in terms of taking these conversations to the next level and engaging essentially?
So our way forward is that we want to increase our platform. We want to welcome more women from different backgrounds. We don't want to just focus on ourselves because we're just a bunch of graduates. So we want to reach out to more women in different areas, different stations of life, because yes, I'm Phiwe, I have my own story, but I want a different woman who was raised in a different community. So we are trying, our next meeting or our discussion is to reach out to more women, not just the women that we are used to, our own circles, but different stations of life, and continue this dialogue and continue to bring even men on board, because we realized that it impacted the men as well, because they had a lot to say. They had a lot to contribute in our dialogue. So we also want to welcome men to join in our conversation and ask, and kind of like ask, but more questions, and we find solutions both ways.
Yeah, and it's not a competition.
It's not a competition.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, and you're doing amazing work, both you, Kimberly, as well as Phiwe. All the best with the initiative.
Thank you so much.
The aim of the VSS Book Club gathering is to reflect upon the need to search within us emotionally, physically, mentally, and psychologically to find our own truth. Although experiences have changed the way in which people relate to society, we'd like to thank Kimberly Molala from the National Burn Association, and she's the ambassador there, as well as Phiwe Mncwabe from the VSS Book Club. We now